In this video, I'm going to show you how to install an external antenna on the LILYGO T-Deck Plus. So stock they come with inbuilt antenna. They do have cutouts on the top, which I've actually already cut out. So I've just used a sharp knife and just gone and just cut off the little tabs. And I've just cleaned it up a bit. So what you want to do is essentially you have a sticker on the top, which you want to take off. Then you just want to get a screwdriver. It's got two screws that you want to do, just one there and one here. So now we have to pull the case off it. You want to be pretty careful. So the screen has ribbon cables that hold it to the board. So the way you open it is essentially pull the back up a little bit, and then you want to sort of make sure the board comes with it. So you'll see that there's ribbon cables in there. Just make sure the board is lifted up as well. So pull the board up, and then you want to grab the board and pull it away from the case. And that should open it up. So just be really careful. Then what you want to do is disconnect the antenna. So on this side here, zoom in again, it's just the connection for the antenna, and just pull that off. And then you should be able to just take the whole back cover off it. Just be careful with all the parts. So yeah, the only thing that's holding it to the back case is the antenna, that you want to make sure it's disconnected. And then the GPS antenna should hopefully just come out of that spot that it's sitting in. So I'll have a look at the board while we're at it. So you can see it's pretty similar to the original T-Deck board. The only difference is really that they've got a GPS module here, this little small thing that's actually already connected to the connector. And you've got the GPS antenna up here. Everything else looks pretty similar to the standard T-Deck board. And to install the SMA connector to the back case, essentially. So once you've drilled or cut out the for the antenna hole, just make sure it's cleaned up so it fits through. What we want to do is just essentially we can just tape this connector here, the onboard one, just away. So you just want to put a little bit of tape on it, just so this part doesn't go hitting the circuit board anyway and maybe shorting it out. So just put a little bit of tape and just put it to tuck it away nicely. Just get some tape for that. So yeah, just a little bit of tape just to tuck it away and so it doesn't short anything out. We can just get the SMA connector. And I like to put this on the bottom section. So usually people might put this on the top, but leave it on the bottom. And the reason behind that is because once you put it in, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll zoom in. If you don't have that spacer in there, it doesn't sit quite flush because it's not completely flush on the bottom. So using this will make it sit a bit more flush, and then the antenna will sit a little bit more straight. So if you have it on top, it might be a bit wonky. Just put the nut on the top. Another thing before we tighten it up is you want to have this connector facing up. So when we put the connector onto the board, it doesn't need to be twisted or anything. So just make sure the orientation of the connector is pointing up. Just tighten it in place. So yeah, it should look like that. Just test the antenna as well. So we might as well connect the antenna now, just in case. So when we connect it to the board, and if we accidentally turn it on, at least we've got the antenna connected so it doesn't burn out the radio or anything. So the next step is just simply just connecting it to the board. Be careful. So yeah, just connected it there. The next step we want to do is put the battery in. So the battery should go in, I think it goes like that. So the battery should sit like that. Make sure the wire's on this side. When you put the board back in, it should sit like that. And we just want to make sure all our buttons are in place. So we've got the reset button here. Just make sure that's in there. And we've got the on and off slider switch as well. So it should sit like that. So the big end of the slider will be on the bottom end. Then we carefully want to put it back together. So you see there's a USB-C port there. You sort of just want to slide that into the bottom carefully. So just take your time when doing this. And make sure the button's in place. And yeah, just make sure the screen doesn't get ripped from the cable. And just turn around, make sure the reset button is not getting stuck against the actual plastic button. So we can just push that in. So yeah, this whole process, there shouldn't be any thing that you need to force in. It should just, they should just go into place pretty easily. Very minimal force. So yeah, make sure it's all lined up. We just want to put the antenna in place for the GPS. So it just goes into that little slot there and just push any of the wires, just tuck it in nicely. So just double check again. Make sure everything's in nicely. Looks okay. And then you can just sort of push that in so it slides in. Just double check, make sure the buttons are in. And everything's sort of shut nicely all the way around. And once that's done, you can just put the screws back in. and turn it on, and hopefully we haven't broken anything. So yeah, this is a side-by-side look compared to the T-Deck that I've built with the 3D printed case. So similar size, this one's a bit thinner and slightly longer, and this one's a bit thicker, obviously because it's got a thicker battery as well. So if we just test it. Just send something back to it. So yeah, it's all working. So the good thing now that we've got the SMA connector is you can connect any external antenna you want. So you can put a much larger one on, something like this, or a whip antenna. Yeah, so hopefully the reception's increased. I'm sure it's a lot better than the internal antenna that comes stock with it. So yeah, if you're after a Meshtastic device that's ready to go, I'd recommend the T-Deck Plus. It's actually really well. Feels really nice to hold as well. Yeah, so if you don't have a 3D printer, you don't want to build anything yourself, and you don't really like to tinker, then this is something to have a look at. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this video has been helpful, and I'll see you next time.